Hey everyone, this is Mel coming to you live from the Evanscape. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, I feel like I'm gonna have a mouthful of moments. But if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. Please like, please share, and please also drop your comments. But folks, remember, be kind, be respectful. Anyway, I feel like I'm a little bit like ooh. No, I'm not all dressed up, but I figured spring is coming. I should probably be all springy or maybe be springy. Let me just adjust that. My preferred background. But anyway, I am doing this video. I want to add more content as I promised before I get all burned out and tired, which I'm prone to do. And then I'm like, nah, I can't do this. But I want to add more content, and today really I want to discuss something that's been nagging me, as in I've been talking to myself about it because I'm like, I'm so annoyed. I'm so not impressed. I'm so not impressed by this. And what I'm talking about is what I see as the hand-me-down tokenized black characters. So it was just recently announced that Ta-nehisi, which is a name that is actually a slight variation on the name Pa-nehisi, which means the Nubian or the Dark One, and in ancient Egyptian. So the name means the Nubian. The kind of anglicized version, which is actually Greek, is Phineas. But I speak about that. There's an episode of my podcast where I go into that. So, and this is not a name podcast, but Ta-nehisi is best known as like an American activist and race writer. He mainly writes for publications like The Atlantic, and he's written books like Between the World and Me. And he mainly writes about race in America, racism and race issues. And that's his claim to fame. He's recently worked on a Black Panther comic as well as Captain America, and it's just recently been announced that along with J.J. Abrams, he will be working on a Black Superman comic, or movie rather, a Black Superman movie. And well, needless to say, fandom are not happy about this. No one asked for this, no one requested this, and my feeling about these things are the same, but it drives home a point that has been bothering me for a while now, and it's largely what I see as tokenization and hand-me-down race men characters that are hand-me-down. Black Superman will never be Clark Kent, Kal-El. It will never reach the same heights. While I guess, some of them have worked, like Miles Morales worked, and Kamala Khan worked as Ms. Marvel, I don't think we want that necessarily. I feel like what gets lost in these hand-me-down Black and gender bend characters is creatives who are not white. People like myself who have been creating content, lots of content are being ignored in favor of hand-me-down type characters. So a perfect example in Brujas, which was supposed to follow Afro-Latina characters and was actually created by a Latina creator, was kind of pushed to the background once the rebooted Charm happened. And Charm was rebooted by a white woman who now takes credit for, pushing racial diversity. But ultimately, these creative properties are not benefiting any non-white creators. They are benefiting the white creators. A Black Buffy is not going to benefit any Black creators. It will benefit Joss Whedon. It's still his creative property. Not only will it not contribute anything new, but it most likely is just unnecessary. I would rather the resources go toward non-white creators who are creating interesting new original properties. And there's so many, everyone from Nnedi Okorafor to N.K. Jemisin to Nala Hopkinson. Those are the big name ones, but there's so many others. And I know because I've been running in these communities. I myself am one. There's so many Black and other non-white creators who are creating work that are being overlooked, that are not being funded because, hey, why fund an original, interesting, new creative property by a non-white creator when you can always just give them Black Hermione and they're happy and they're satisfied with it. And personally, I'm not satisfied with it. Hermione is white and I don't want to see a Black Hermione. Not that I would throw a hissy fit over it. I don't want to see a Black Superman. Money that funding into allowing Black and other non-white creators to create original, interesting ideas that are about their experiences and not about simply putting blackface on already established white characters, which doesn't do anything for those characters. And really, we've seen backlash against this that has led to often the non-white actors who are cast in these roles being basically, tossed out and blamed when these properties don't do well. Whether it's John Boyega's experience with Star Wars, where he was kind of hyped as bringing diversity, and then when there was backlash, Disney basically pushed him out and kind of shortchanged him. Another example of this is the Mehcad Brooks, who was cast as Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl, which was a huge miscasting. Jimmy Olsen was a nerdy white kid, and they cast Mehcad Brooks, who was a beefcake model type dude in this role. He was miscast, and the thing with that is it was not necessary. They could have easily cast Mehcad Brooks as a brand new character. It clearly wasn't working for the showrunners. Guess what they did? They got rid of Mehcad Brooks, and this is the way non-white people are kind of chastised and kind of blamed when these poor misguided castings, tokenization, performative diversity castings don't work. The thing is, most people are not opposed to a lot of to diversity. They are opposed to race bending and gender bend characters because these feel like what they are. They feel like tokenism, they feel like condescension, they feel like completely unnecessary. And this is, I see, I've been going around the social media sphere, and I've been seeing a lot of people are shocked that Monica Rambeau isn't being attacked. Well, there's some people, who are like feminist agenda, but most people are not, are shocked that the character seems to be embraced. But I think that's largely because Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, preferably Spectrum makes more sense to me, was already Black in the comics. She is not a race-bent character. She is not a character who was another race or a gender in the comics and was suddenly race-bent or gender-bent. And I think that's what people want. They want authenticity to some extent. There is no need for a Black Captain America. A lot of these two big two superhero comics, chiefly Marvel and DC, were around for a long time, since at least the 1940s. Then in the 1960s, race and gender issues kind of pushed to the forefront of American society and politics. And then these comics creators just realized that they had no proper superheroes who were not white men, and so they decided Marvel did a better job to some extent by creating original Black superheroes like the Black Panther and even Monica Rambeau to address this. But DC did a terrible job by just kind of race bending characters who were already white men. So they gave you Black Superman, they gave you Asian this, and they gave you, Batgirl, and they gave you Supergirl, and they gave you, they gave you these race and gender bent characters who are just second tier versions of the original white male characters. And this is where a lot of that comes from. It's not coming from any place organic. It's coming from a need to respond to the civil rights movement, to the feminist movement of the 60s and 70s. And I would have respected them more if they had created original characters of different ethnicities. Again, Marvel is guilty of that as well, but they've done a much better job of creating original Black and non-white characters than DC has. But even they attempted to redo some of their characters, including Captain America. Again, the civil rights movement. But I think I don't need to see that. I don't need to see any of that. I would rather, I mean, it goes a long way of saying, wouldn't it be more realistic that an unsayable serum would have been tested on Black soldiers? Yes, it is realistic because that is what American society has historically done. But at the same time, we already established Steve Rogers as Captain America, so there's really no need to revisit this. And that's really the point. There's no need to revisit this. We can just move on, create original and interesting non-white characters and female characters, and I assure you people will read it if it's interesting. I know I say that because I have like Ironheart here. I have Ironheart here, which is kind of a redo on Iron Man. And, again, it can work. But at the same time, and the second version, by the way, is a good version. The first version was terrible. But the second version here is really good. And I think it's largely because they corrected a lot of the social justice warrior activist stuff, which is more than I can say for the Nubia stuff that's coming from DC. And this is also my fear because I don't think Ta-Nehisi Coates will learn from the mistakes with Black Panther and Captain America. He racialized the Black Panther and basically did a lot of race-based stuff with Captain America, but he's been rewarded for it with a Black Superman, and I don't think anyone cares about a Black Superman. I don't think it will do well, so I don't know who this is for. And Ta-Nehisi Coates, his bread and butter is race hustling, and that's what his claim to fame is, so I don't expect anything inspiring to come out of this. And I feel like maybe I haven't gone on a rant about the problem with social justice warriors, but he's writing nerd culture properties. The accusation, which I don't think is entirely fair, is that for a lot of them, nerd culture is lucrative right now and popular. And so they see it as a vehicle that they can hijack to promote their activism and their agenda. I don't know how true that is, and I've seen many people saying, oh, these people probably don't read the comics and don't care. And I don't know. I don't think that's entirely fair, but I do know that when you focus more on telling or sending a message and promoting an agenda and identifying people exclusively by their gender and race and sexuality, then these often lead to terrible stories, because the storytelling part is thrown to the wayside, and they don't develop these people outside of their race, gender, and sexuality. And this is ultimately, they're more concerned with sending messages about white supremacy or gender issues or race issues. And often, and it's not that, again, these things cannot be done properly. They can. It's just that these people don't know how. So it's either one or the other. It's either the story or the message. It's never done in a way that makes sense. And I know there's arguments about, like, subtlety and allegory and the problems with those, and many people don't get it. See every single video about why conservatives like Star Trek being an example. But anyway, I think that non-white creatives are the ones who suffer when we are given hand-me-down characters, race-bent, gender-bent characters. I would rather the resources go into funding the original creative ideas and properties of non-white creators, because there are so many good stuff, and I know because I'm reading a lot of it. I'm part of that community. I'm one of those creators, and I'm seeing what's coming down in the publishing world. Kugali. Kugali is, it's rooted in Nigeria, and it's a Pan-African company that aims to bring African-based stories what Nnedi Okorafor would refer to as African futurism to the global scale, and they just teamed up with Disney Plus to produce an animated fantasy adventure series that takes place in Lagos, Nigeria, and I believe the name for that is Iwaju, Iwaju, and it means the future in Yoruba, and it, as they made it clear, is African futurism, and it aims to bring you African cultures mixed in with science fiction and fantasy. And this is completely original. It's not a knockoff of any European based stuff. It's not a reimagining of Alice in Wonderland. It's not, a reimagining of King Arthur. It's not the umpteenth version of King Arthur, but with black people. It's original. And that's what I want. I want to give black and other non-white creators and women the chance to make their own inspiring properties instead of using that resource to toss at us hand-me-down characters like Black Buffy and Black Hermione and Black Superman. I don't want that. I don't care for that. I want to see original inspired work being done by Black and other non-white creators that are being given the light of day. That's what I want to see. I want to see the works of Nnedi Okorafor on screen, the works of N.K. Jemisin. I want to see Iwaju. I want to see other original inspired works. I don't want Black Superman. And that's how I feel about it. But anyway, this rant has gone on long enough. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how you feel about these hand-me-down Black characters. And yeah, anyway, anything you may feel about it, give me a thumbs up or ratings. It helps, folks. Subscribe if you haven't done so. Give me a thumbs up and share this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your thoughts. See you next time. Talk to you next time.